This final discussion is about Hindus outside of India. Hinduism is a global religion, with Hindus and South Asians having a major presence in the United States, certainly, as you know, in major cities like Chicago today. There were several major waves of immigration from India to other parts of the English-speaking world, especially. First, after England outlawed slavery in 1833, when Indians began to seek employment in other British colonies, including South Africa and the West Indies, places like Guyana, Suriname, Trinidad, and Tobago. Following independence, a sizable number of well-educated Indians, doctors, scientists, and engineers sought work throughout the English-speaking world, including not only England, Australia, and New Zealand, but also after 1965 in the United States, when our severely restrictive immigration policy was opened up again by what was called the Hart-Celler Act in 1965. There continues today what demographers have identified as the largest mass migration of human beings ever in the history of the planet, which is the phenomenon of South Asians seeking employment in the oil-rich states of the Persian Gulf to countries like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. There are over 2.2 million Hindus in the United States currently. It is the fourth most populous, the fourth biggest religion in the United States, the second biggest religion in Arizona and Delaware, but also with major populations in places like New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Atlanta, near where I currently live. The first Hindu temples in the US were converted buildings, sometimes old churches, though today, as Hindu communities have continued to grow, there are some extremely large Hindu temples, such as the Swaminarayan Akshardham in Robbinsville, New Jersey, featured here. As Diana Eck notes, in the American Hindu diaspora, Indians from different parts of India and many different sects of Hinduism have, in her words, become more proximate than scattered. That is, Hindus with differing beliefs and devotional rituals who lived in different communities in India have found themselves living side by side across the street from each other in the US. With the result of this being that, in contrast to India, where generally Hindus identify as either one or the other, Vaishnavite or Shaivite, American temples have shrines to Shiva and Vishnu side by side. Sometimes community members will even decide which deity they want to be the main icon at their temple by taking a vote. Who's it going to be, Shiva or Vishnu? Some temples have made icons of white marble for northern Indians and icons of black marble for southern Indians. And in general, it's not uncommon to see devotional spaces in the US which give equal prominence to Vishnu and Shiva, as opposed to privileging one of the two gods over the other. Technology has allowed for innovative forms of Hindu practice. It's possible, for instance, to pay online to have a puja done on your behalf at a temple in India, or to make an offering on the banks of the Ganges River. You can have prasad from a major temple delivered to you from India. Facebook pages like the one for Hinduism Today stream daily inspiration and articles right onto your smartphone. Gurus and yoga buffs like Swami Guru Ramdev have parlayed YouTube into a mobile meditation zone. Religious charismatics like Anandamurti Guru Ma offer darshan over Facebook, so her devotees can take a daily 30-minute darshan of her, watch her over her Facebook channel, with aspects of Indian culture incorporated to our everyday lives, like when you get a chai tea or a turmeric latte, or when bhangra moves are incorporated into workout routines. Hindu theological concepts have permeated into popular culture to such an extent that many people are probably unaware of the fact that they are Hindu, or where they came from, or what they really mean. Karma chameleon, you come and go, you come and go. It doesn't even really make sense. The phrase karma chameleon in that song doesn't even really make sense. With some examples of such casual dislocation of Hindu practices and ideas from their original context being offensive or regarded as insensitive by Hindus. Cultural appropriation we would define as the marketing and exotification of cultural practices from historically oppressed populations. And the discussion of academic Orientalism is relevant here, going back to the idea of who historically has spoken for whom in the relationship between the West and South Asia. Remember that Edward Said points out that Orientalist scholarship was predicated on this idea that colonized people were not rational enough to speak for themselves, and so Europeans had to speak for them. With respect to yoga, taking yoga as an example, the problem is complex and involves two extremes. The first is the sterilization of yoga by removing evidence of its Eastern roots so it doesn't offend Western practitioners. There are some who think that you can strip yoga of its spiritual content and present it merely as an exercise routine for losing weight and improving muscle tone. And the opposite extreme is the glamorization of yoga in India through commercialism. The thoughtless use of Indian religious imagery, such as Om tattoos, t-shirts sporting Hindu deities or Sanskrit scriptures, Newsweek representing Barack Obama as Shiva Nataraj, the Lord of the Dance, Abercrombie and Fitch's Buddha Bikini, which they came out with in 2002. One way to put this into perspective is to ask how, say, an American Christian would feel if he or she went to a foreign country and there were verses from the Bible printed on sweatshirts thrown in the sale pile at a department store. For some, the problem of how to use the practices and imagery of marginal cultures goes beyond mere guidelines of do's and don'ts and necessitates instead more earnest conversations about asymmetries of power. Rumya Puchya points out, for instance, that conversations about cultural appropriation need to be, at the end of the day, conversations about legacies of imperialism and colonialism, asking us to think about how the history of yoga practice in the United States is intimately linked to larger forces such as colonization, oppression, and the fact that a devotional practice that was free of cost for thousands of years is now being marketed and sold. Hinduism found many American converts in the 20th century. Hindu gurus, charismatic teachers like Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, the ISKCON movement, others like Meher Baba, the silent guru who popularized the phrase, "Don't worry, be happy," were among the ambassadors of Hinduism to the US at this time during the counterculture movement. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi was the founder of the Transcendental Meditation movement, known for his personal friendship with the Beatles. They took an extended trip to his ashram in Rishikesh in India in 1968. New Age religion is the free-form religiosity of those who identify as spiritual rather than religious, and often choose not to identify primarily as followers of one faith or the other, taking the bits that they like from different religious traditions and combining them to create their own personal curated form of spirituality. Many aspects of Hinduism have found a home within New Age religion, New Age religious practices, everything from chakra alignment to yoga, to belief in reincarnation, to Ayurveda or traditional Indian medicine. How have Hindus themselves viewed their faith in relation to Western religions? The following video by Jay Lakhani emphasizes the non-confessional and pluralist dimensions of Hinduism. He advocates that those of other faith traditions take from Hinduism what they find to be useful and inspirational. So this is one perspective from one popular Hindu author and public speaker.
Can anyone be a Hindu, and if so, how do you join?
This is not some heavy stuff I'm going to hammer down you and say, take it up. You think for yourself. If there are ideas that I've given you, which you find exciting, interesting, that you can relate to, then I am telling you, adopt those ideas, make them your own and take them away. Incorporate them within your own system. So if you are a Christian, if the ideas are given you touch you, make them part of your Christian tradition, adopt them, take them away, make them part of your own. We are not here selling copyrights. So we are not saying because we are pluralists, we don't want you to switch religions. Why should you? Because we say Christianity is a good way, go for it. Find your God in your own way. This is one of the tried and tested pathways, use it fully. We don't want you to switch. It's like a river that has come down the mountain one side, you can say, oh river, no, go up and come down on the way. That's what changing religions mean. We say don't do that. You already have your cultural, historic roots with Christianity, carry on, become a better Christian. If there are things that I have said which appeal to you, take them away, make them your own. We don't even ask for copyrights, they are yours, take them. At the same time, we do not say that you cannot join us, we are very special people. We don't make any such claim. We are just human beings like you. That's why if you say, no, we must join, we want to join, we can't stop you and say, no, this is a private club. We don't do that either. At the same time, we don't encourage conversion because this creates friction in the name of religion. The moment there are many religions fighting for people, saying, okay, I'm going to convert more of these people and become bigger than this, you lost the spiritual idea. It's not spiritual, it's not truly religious, is it? It's horrible. So the idea of forcing your religion on another is something that we should strongly avoid. Let me finish with a funny story, I think. Now you see this idea, the heart of Hinduism, which I use the word spiritual humanism, that you are essentially the spark of the divine, may sound a bit arrogant. You might think it's arrogant, surely. We are creepy crawlies. Why is he calling us that we are the spark of the God? We don't feel like God. Why is he calling us all that? Spiritual humanism. Let me do a funny story. A 5-year-old boy came to the Hinduism class and he was told, my boy, like it or not, believe it or not, your essential nature, not your external in your mind, in your body, and your inner nature, your essential nature, the thing that's sparkling in your eyes is essentially you are that spirit, you are God. Now the 5-year-old boy didn't understand the message very well, so he said, oh, in that case, this is good, I should have come here to this class earlier, he's telling me I'm God, good stuff here, I should have joined the class much earlier. So the boy becomes arrogant, puts his hand in his pocket, goes home in a very arrogant mood, and goes to the kitchen and picks out the most expensive piece of plate mommy keeps for the special visitor, waves it in front of mommy, says, mommy, look, look, and he drops it deliberately. It breaks into 1,000 pieces. Mommy becomes furious. Brown Hindu mommy turns pink. Then she lifts her arm and comes near the boy. And the boy says, stop, mommy, stop. Mommy, do you know who I am? Mommy says, first the cheeky fellow breaks place and asks, who am I? Who are you? Mommy, like it or not, believe it or not, I am God, says the boy. Now, fortunately, mommy had been to the Hinduism class. She said, my boy, my second question is, who am I? The boy learned his lines well. Mommy, like it or not, believe it or not, you too are God. Mommy said, good, we are making progress. You are baby God, I am mommy God. The third lesson of Hinduism says that whenever baby God goes around breaking plates, mommy God has to do special worship ceremony of the baby God. The boy was getting worried. He said, what? She has to bring the baby God round, turn him round and smack his bottom, without leaving a mark, otherwise social service God will come. Why am I lightening up a serious issue? This idea of spiritual humanism may appear like arrogance. It's not arrogance. You don't think I am special, you think everybody is special. And the terms of engagement we have don't change. So when the baby misbehaves, mommy whacks him gently. So the terms of engagement don't change, and yet we have spiritualized everybody. So there is God in everybody, but you have to be very careful. There are some people you need to keep away from. So this is what spiritual humanism is all about.
So what is Jay Lakhani talking about? Secular humanism is the belief that we don't need any religion as a foundation for human morality, that rational principles, really the principles of the Enlightenment of the 18th century, are sufficient for us to live in a just, equitable, and fully functional society. Jay Lakhani uses the phrase spiritual humanism, by which I think he means something like universalism, or the idea that all religions have something to learn from one another, that all religions have principles in common, and that these are principles which even those who are not religious still might have something to learn, benefit, gain from. Rather than treating religious documents as literal accounts of history, we can treat them as works of literature, works with literary merit that people from any culture might enjoy reading. Within the cosmologies and cosmogonies of other religions, we might find inspiration for our own scientific theories, or we might find inspiration to loosen up the constraints of our thinking, to think about things in broader, different, novel ways. This was an article that popped up on my feed about theoretical physicists looking at the laws of motion and physical force from a two-dimensional perspective. That is, instead of a three-dimensional perspective, what if we did all the math to think about the laws of physics that we know, treating them all in terms of data points that could be stored in a hard disk? And it immediately made me think of the whole Vaishnava idea of reality as being the dream of Vishnu projected into the physical holographic world by Brahma. Religion also provides us with ideals and aspirations, ideals of what a perfect dharmic society might look like, ideals of what it means to be a saint, and reminders of human imperfection. In Hinduism, it seems like not even the gods are perfect. Not even God himself is always perfect, as we see in stories like the Ramayana. Indian religion also provides us with ways of thinking about not just hashtag life goals, but also hashtag many life goals. as in the possibility of the perfection of the self over many lifetimes, a kind of radical long-term way of thinking about self-improvement. Regrettably, we're not in class and we can't have a more thorough summary discussion of everything we talked and read about, but I'll look forward to your responses for week 10.